We show you registered as Julia Orduña on behalf of Texas Housers, testifying for the bill. Is that correct?
That is correct. Good afternoon, Chair and members. My name is Julia Orduña, Southeast Texas Regional Director for Texas Housers. I am based in Houston, but the border is where I grew up and called my home for 25 years. I'm testifying in support of this bill. Since 2020, Texas Housers has positioned court observers in Harris County eviction hearings and logged over 9,000 cases. Having personally observed and logged 906 myself, I can tell you that as diversely complicated as each testimony is, they mostly come with a common ask: a second chance. People don't want to fall behind on rent. It happens for inexplicable reasons. You lose your job, your child gets cancer, and treatment is expensive. Inflation is making the wage gap larger. Any of these bumps in the road can lead to housing insecurity. That is why being late on rent, even one day, can start this domino effect. And before the end of the week, you can have an eviction filing petition with your name on it. 1 in 4 people evicted in Dallas County have only had one eviction in the last 6 years. This one bump in their recorded history will keep them from choosing where to live and raise their families. Evictions are associated with lasting negative health and socioeconomic effects, including premature birth, depression, and death by suicide, more interactions with the child welfare and criminal justice systems, and the disruption of healthcare access, educational attainment, and employment. Workers are often evicted 15% more likely to be fired from their current jobs. This domino effect sets off a chain reaction that creates lasting damages for generations. Veterans in Laredo often resort to living in Mexico because they lack the ability to find housing. How many of these people have evictions on their records? Dismissals happen often. The tenant catches up on rent, the landlord agrees to work with the tenant, or the tenant is wrongfully filed against, as we just heard, and wins the case. Honoring this judgment means retracting any harm that may come with it, including future harm. Eviction record sealing would assist tenants with the dismissals in continuing to seek and acquire adequate housing. During the pandemic, access to rent relief often required an eviction filing. Landlords just trying to help their tenants inadvertently tarnish their tenants' record. Screening companies collect and sell filing information for at least 7 years. 9 out of 10 landlords rely on these screening companies to make these decisions without any fact about the case. Even if tenants win their case, they are guilty until proven innocent each time they apply for a new unit, and they must show proof of their dismissal. This housing barrier and constant need to exonerate oneself can be resolved by passing this bill. In Texas, you can be homeless in less than 30 days. A second chance to put a roof over your head is hard to find when one strike means you're out. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for this witness? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We show you registered as Myra Nowlin on behalf of yourself, testifying for the bill. Is that correct?
That's correct. My name is Myra Nowlin, and I'm from Abilene, Texas. And I'm here to encourage you to support House Bill 1450, and I'm speaking on my own behalf. I know several people that have faced eviction but were able to work things out with their landlord and was not actually evicted. Nonetheless, a case was filed against them, and it is public record. I've seen this as a member and volunteer for the Texas Tenants Union in Dallas, and as a tenant advocate fighting for tenants' rights in Abilene, Texas, which I moved back to in 2017. My niece is one example. She is a young woman with a 4-year-old son that fell behind on her rent when her hours were cut back at work. Her landlord filed for eviction, but then she went to him and paid the late fees and her rent and was back in good standings. She continued to live there and complete her obligations to her lease, and the eviction was dropped. Even though she got caught up and she wasn't evicted, the filing of the eviction has prevented her from renting an apartment in her own name. She was rejected from approximately 3 apartment complexes before she gave up and doubled up with a family member. They are living in a crowded conditions that are not healthy for any of them. I know others aren't as lucky. Some people don't have family they can stay with and end up on the streets or raising children in motels and shelters. You don't have to look far to see homelessness or homeless people in most of our Texas cities now. If a criminal record can be expunged, it's only fair that an eviction record should be kept confidential when the case is dismissed. Please give people like my niece and her son a chance to live independently, develop positive rental history, and have a chance at the American dream. Please support House Bill 1450. And I have an ending note. Quote, anyone who has ever struggled with poverty knows how extremely expensive it is to be poor. And that's from James Baldwin. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for this witness?
I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
We show you registered as Ben Martin on behalf of the Texas Housers and yourself, testifying for the bill. Is that correct?
That's right. Thank you, Chair Longoria, and thank you, members. My name is Ben Martin. Again, I'm the research director at Texas Housers. We work to ensure that low-income Texans have access to safe, decent, affordable, and stable housing, and I'm speaking in support of the bill. Currently, under the property code, a landlord is not required to disclose fixed fees to a tenant before the tenant signs a lease. As unbelievable as that sounds, we at Texas Housers and our colleagues at the Texas Tenants Union actually hear from tenants about this occurring, where a tenant ends up on the hook for fees for parking, for trash, even mandatory cable TV, and did not know this was part of their financial obligation to the landlord prior to signing the lease. This bill states that fees that a landlord intends to charge a tenant under a written lease must be disclosed by the landlord to the tenant before a lease for the dwelling is signed by the tenant, and that the tenant isn't obligated to pay a fee that was not disclosed in this manner. Tenants need all the tools they can to keep housing as affordable as possible in Texas right now. What this bill does is give tenants the information that they need to make an informed decision about the cost of renting an apartment. And it adds language to the property code that helps tenants challenge extra charges that were not disclosed prior to signing the lease. More renters in Texas than ever before are burdened by excessive housing costs. This bill alone can't fix that, but it at least works to ensure that tenants have more complete information about the costs they will commit to upon signing a residential lease. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.